Hi guys, my name is Charity and known to most as Chaz or Mrs. C. I'm just going to briefly give you an overview of my experience traveling to a red listed country um, from the UK. Basically, I'm going to talk about the documents that you require, the documentation that you need um, to be able to travel without any problems to a red listed country. I'm going to do another video where I'll talk about coming back to the UK. So um, please bear with me. I'm going to be just try to be as short as possible because I know on the government website there's so much information and there's so much to read on, and I remember being very anxious about everything I was reading on that website, and also um, just anxious that maybe I'll have the wrong documents or I'll not have enough documentation when the traveling date comes. But I'm happy to say everything went well, and I managed to go home to Zimbabwe, which is unfortunately in the red list at the moment, and I was able to come back without any problems. So number one, what you need to have to make sure that um, you don't incur any problems. Firstly, is a valid passport. You need to make sure there's 6 month worth um, like traveling time on it on your passport. Make sure it's not expiring within the next 6 months. Some people in some countries will say they can do with 3 months, but I think to be on the safe side, being someone who was anxious like the way I was anxious, I think I just want to know that I've got more time. It's better. um, the reason I'm doing this video is because I really suffered quite a lot of anxiety from the time that I was able to know that I'm traveling. I had to go to Zimbabwe as as an emergency, and I had not literally planned to do so. So in the end, I got so anxious because I was really struggling to see to read everything and retain it, to be honest. So in the end, I was getting palpitations, I was getting sleepless nights, I couldn't eat. But I'm glad to say I managed to pull through and I managed to go home. So like I said, for starters, you need your passport to be valid. You need your um, biometric to just double check if your biometric, if you've got a biometric and you don't have a British passport, just check if your biometric is still valid. And then also to check if your visa is still valid as well. And um, you book your ticket. Number two, that's what you do. So first we said passport. Number two, you book your ticket, and I advise you go on some of those reputable websites or use a travel agent if you want. But my recommendation would be just go on the airline website or just Google on your own. You might be able to find cheaper than using a travel agent. So once your ticket is booked, you need to also make sure that you've booked your PCR test so that it's with the PCR test. This is where I want to spend most of my time, like my emphasis. The emphasis on a PCR test is that when you do get your PCR test, when you book your PCR test, you need to make sure that it's um, within the timelines of when you do your last check-in. Say if you're connecting flights, make sure that your PCR test will still be valid by the time you get to your last boarding gate. Basically, what am I saying? I'm saying that if you're traveling, say you've got 2 or 3 connections, by the time, say, if South Africa is your last connection, by the time you board the plane in South Africa, you have to make sure that your PCR test is still valid even for when you land in Zimbabwe. It has to be valid. Otherwise, it's either you'll be not allowed to board, or you'll board but you'll still not be allowed to leave the airport in Zimbabwe. of which you don't want to do that, especially if you don't have a lot of days to spare. So what I did, I think what made me more anxious is about this PCR test, because I kept thinking, what if by the time I travel, by the time I get to Zimbabwe, it's expired? Somehow, I don't know, in my head, I got it that it was valid only for 48 hours, but no, it's actually valid for 72 hours, which is about 3 days. So if you know that you're going on a connecting flight, it's worth to trying to do it on the day before you travel, so that at least you get your results even before by the time before you check in, so that you have your results at hand. And also then it means you've got more time to play with the connections. But if you've got a direct flight, say a 9 hour, is your flight is only 9 hours and it's going directly, there's no problem doing your PCR test like 2 days before, or even the 3 days before. It's up to you. But just bear in mind when you're booking that your PCR test has got to be valid until the time you get to your last destination. And I have to say, to be honest, I managed, it was sad seeing people being stopped and not going on board because they had an expired PCR test. If you do that, they will not let you board and they will make you do another test at the airport. Probably it will cost hundreds of pounds, and it will obviously be expensive. It means you're going to be delayed, and maybe the airline might refuse to actually let you on the plane for free. You might have to pay for another journey, because they just put the responsibility on you. So please, 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 if you're going to be traveling, just make sure your PCR test will be valid until the time you get to your final destination. Okay, once you've done that, say if you are double jabbed, you need to book your day 2 test before you go. I advise that you book it before you go, because it's cheaper that way, and also you enjoy your holiday without having to think about, because for me, like, I'm from Zimbabwe, sometimes there's no electricity, there's no Wi-Fi, so you might struggle even trying to book things while you're over there. So the best thing to do is do everything that you want to do from here, and then you go in peace and you enjoy your holiday, because otherwise you will fail to enjoy your holiday, because you now start, as soon as you get there, you're starting to get anxious about coming back to the UK. So what I did is, because I'm not double jabbed, I had to quarantine for 10 days, of which I'm doing this video from my quarantine room, and I'm at the, what do you call it, this one, the hotel is called Radisson Blue, Edwardian, at the Heathrow Airport. If anybody is here watching this video, please just message me so that we can probably organize our breaks at the same time. But yeah, I booked my quarantine before I left, because I was going to Zimbabwe for 10 days. But if you say you're going to your red listed country for more than 10 days, like a month, you can still go without booking. And then 10 days before you return, you need to book, because sometimes you never know, the status will change and you might not need to quarantine. So it's worth, after 10 days before you return to England, you need to book your quarantine hotel. Or what some other people are doing is they are going through Dubai, through Ghana, through any green listed countries, and they spend a few days there. I would advise that if you're going to choose to do that, you need to be careful about which country you're choosing to go to, and also you need to know the COVID rules and regulations in that country. Some countries would not take someone who is not double jabbed. Some countries will take people uh, um, double jabbed, are not double jabbed, and they will say, like Dubai, for example, people are just getting tested at the airport, and if you are PCR tested and you are negative at the airport on arrival, whether you have a valid PCR or not, they will do it their own test at their airport, and if you are negative, they will let you go, and you will you'll be able to quarantine. So you won't quarantine actually, you'll be able to just go about like you're on holiday. So most people are opting for that one. But for me, I didn't opt for that one because obviously, like I said, my anxiety levels were so high, and I felt like if I'm going to be in another country, I have to keep my ears open because it means if that country goes into red, I might be forced to do a double quarantine like if when I come here. So, and you also need to be up to date with the news so that you know the status of the country you are in before you return to the UK. And so I chose to do it here. So those are the things that you need basically. There's nothing much that you need. You just need to make sure your passport is in order, make sure your ticket is in order, you book your PCR in time, and you also book your quarantine if you're double jabbed, because when you come back from a red country, if you're double jabbed, you're not required to quarantine. They will just see your negative PCR, and then they will ask for proof of your day 2 test. If you don't have the proof, they might ask you to quarantine. But if you have proof, they will actually um, they will let you go home. And then on day 2, you do your test. If your test is negative, you are free to go to work or whatever. But yeah, you need to be aware that you need to even produce like a COVID passport, I think, to show you a vaccination passport to show that you've been double vaccinated. So yeah, um, I think that's all you need to do if you are traveling to a red listed country. I know it can feel overwhelming and you can get anxious because I've been through what I've been through. I've seen it fit for me to do this video just to and I hope this video has actually helped alleviate some anxieties that you might be going through. I know some people have lost their parents, some people have got really sick parents, some people have got other things that are really pressing, but they feel like they can't go home. I think the pandemic is going to go for a little while, and our parents are getting old. They need to be seen every at least every few years. So but it's still very possible to actually come go home and come back in the UK without being affected. Obviously, when you get to Zimbabwe or whatever red country you go to, you need to make sure you observe the sanitizing of hands, the mask wearing, mask up, sanitize your hands, wash your hands as much as possible, socially distance, you know, and do those things. And I bet you will not suffer anything. I've been there. I come back. I'm negative, but obviously because I'm not double jabbed, I'm in a hotel quarantine. So my next video, I'll be talking to you about what documentation you need when you're traveling back to the UK. This first video is just traveling from the UK to a red listed country. I hope it has helped you, and it will help you to make an informed decision about your future travels. Um, and I hope you like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be coming back with another video. Thank you very much. Bye.